Hello and welcome to the Shanghai International Circuit in China for rounds 3 and 4 of the 2015 TCR International Series. It hardly seems 2 weeks since we did this before. That was the opening 2 rounds of the series in Sepang in Malaysia, and SEAT victories in both races, but one Honda preventing a complete SEAT lockout of the podium positions. And it was this man, Gianni Morbidelli, who finished 3rd in race 2 and receiving a very special visitor on the grid here in Shanghai this weekend. Bernie Ecclestone paying the grid a visit. He was in the paddock in Sepang a fortnight ago, but there you see Marcello Lotti to Bernie Ecclestone's right, conducting the visitor around the grid. The only other change to mention at the just going out of shot at the bottom of your screen, Igor Shkuz had a frustrating weekend in Sepang with the Opel Astra suffering from all sorts of overheating problems. The Campos Racing team having elected to switch him from the Opel into a SEAT Leon, which means of the 15 cars on the grid, we have a total of 10 SEAT Leons, 3 Honda Civics and 2 Audi TTs. But it's the Hondas that dominate proceedings after qualifying. Let's take a look at the grid positions. Gianni Morbidelli, you see there on pole alongside René Munich. Kevin Gleeson makes it 3 out of 3 for Honda. Mikhail Grachev 4th in the Audi. Pepe Oriola carrying success ballast, more of which in a moment, 5th. Norbert Toth 6th. Franz Enstler in the other Audi TT 7th. Stefano Comini 8th. Comini carrying the most success ballast of all, but I'll tell you about that on our green flag lap. Michel Nukian 9th, Andrea Bellicchi 10th, and because of the reversed grid positions, it'll be Bellicchi who starts race 2 tomorrow from pole position. And the surprise, only 14th fastest, Jordi Genet in the SEAT Leon, only 14th ahead of Igor Shkuz. About 10 seconds or so until the green flag is waved and the cars are off on their formation lap. But René Munich, I suppose, surprising many, but having been in the paddock earlier on, René absolutely delighted with his weekend so far. 2nd fastest in both 3 practice sessions yesterday, and then 2nd quickest behind Gianni Morbidelli in qualifying this morning. René, I suppose an enthusiast driver rather than a gentleman driver, but absolutely loves his motorsport, and of course has the wherewithal to run his own team, and is here in his own right. But this will be potentially the last we see of René Munich, because after this event he goes off to Rallycross, and so the West Coast Racing team will be down to 2 cars for Valencia, unless after the showing that they've put up this weekend, someone comes along and says, do you know, actually I fancy that René Munich seat. Now let's talk about success ballast, and I've mentioned it. Obviously all the cars starting the season on 0 success ballast, and then after the rounds in Malaysia, top 3 drivers getting penalised because of their success. The most successful driver of all, the winner of race 1, 4th in race 2, Stefano Comini, gets 30 kilos of success ballast. Podium finishes in both races mean that Pepe Oriola gets 20 kilos, and then the winner of race 2, Jordi Genet, we've mentioned, 10 kilos of success ballast. That all resets after the Shanghai races, and so it'll be a changed position for Valencia in 3 weeks' time. The Shanghai circuit then, 5.45 kilometers, 16 turns, and an extremely tricky circuit. One of the features here, you'll see it in a moment, the long back straight, 1.1 kilometers, the longest straight of any circuit that the TCR International Series will visit this year, and one of the best overtaking positions at the end of that long straight, the right-hander at turn 14, and the other place to watch out for in terms of overtaking will be at the end of the start-finish straight, another right-hander at turn 1, into a complex which was described as almost like a snail, turns 1 to 4. 2 right-handers, turns 1 and 2, and then a change of direction, 2 left-handers for turns 3 and 4. And Morbidelli was telling me a little earlier that the car has to be a bit of a compromise. If the back end is too light, then there's a problem with obviously handling. If the car is too strong in terms of rear downforce, there's a risk of the cars understeering through some of the corners, and actually getting the power down is a problem. That's what I was talking about. That's the shot from the end of the back straight, and there's the left-hander that we suspect will play a part in proceedings as the race goes on. Should also say, you can see the cars weaving to get heat into their tyres. Track temperature here is something like 46 degrees, something like 14 or 15 degrees lower than it was in Malaysia a fortnight ago, when overheating in the cars was a problem. That's not such an issue here today, but getting heat into the tyres most definitely is, and particularly the rear tyres. Tyre warmers not allowed in TCR. It's all about keeping costs low after all, and so the drivers getting heated to their tyres now. But that first right-hander, turn 1, the end of the start-finish straight, we suspect could be very interesting. Capacity here at Shanghai, something like 250,000 spectators. Qualifying, of course, for Formula 1 today, so nothing like that number. You see the grandstands there, probably around a half full, maybe. But big crowd expected tomorrow. Whether we get anywhere near that 250,000 capacity remains to be seen. There is Kevin Gleeson heading down to the grid box to form up third on the grid behind his poleman colleague, Gianni Morbidelli, extremely experienced, having competed in everything from karting right up to Formula 1, having driven here at Shanghai before. But you have to say that the closeness of the TCR regulations means that to see Hondas at the top of the grid is actually extremely pleasing to see after the SEAT performance in Malaysia. Completely expected a fortnight ago. After all, the SEATs have had so much more time to prepare from the SEAT Leon Euro Cup cars on which the TCR cars are based. But West Coast Racing and the car builders Yasport in Italy have done a fantastic job on those Hondas. And that's the story. Looking at a pair of Hondas right on the start-finish straight. We're waiting for the lights to go on. And then we have our round 3 of the TCR International Series. There is the green flag. Lights go on. We're looking for a good start from Morbidelli, but I have to say here at Shanghai, whoever starts on pole doesn't necessarily have the better of it. There, out go the lights, and we immediately see Oriola just poking his nose. He's blocked by Grachev in the Audi, but it's Morbidelli who takes a run down to the first corner. What's going to happen? They're through cleanly. No, they're not. There was an incident towards the back of the field. I think it was our Chinese driver, Zhang Tengyi, who was involved in that. The green and white target competition, Leon. There is Norbert Toft, 16 years of age, a former triathlete. And that body damage, I suspect, for Pepe Oriola is that a tyre rubbing on the rear bodywork. That would suggest contact from the rear. Everybody else clear still. That smoke coming from, and you can see that there is damage to the back of the red and white SEAT. Left-hand side puncture, possibly. We're not sure. The smoke coming from the car, from Oriola's car, suggesting all not well. Yes, you can see from that shot that there is rear bodywork damage, but it is Gianni Morbidelli who leads the field. That is Lorenzo Veglia in the Liqui-Moly SEAT, going very, very wide there. Jordi Genet having made his way up from 14th on the grid to now 10th. Andrea Baliki we're seeing there, down in 11th place. So Morbidelli, Munich, Grachev in the Audi, Pepe Oriola with the bodywork flapping, being passed, and some of the bodywork coming off there, being passed by one of the target cars. That's the Toft having a look. That's turn 14 I mentioned earlier. They're all safely around that. Igor Shkuz taking to the green carpet. Shkuz, I suspect, a lot happier than he was in Malaysia, but having got a lot further than he did with the Opel, but still frustrating at the back of the field. So at the end of lap 1, Morbidelli, Munich, Grachev, Comini, Kevin Gleeson having dropped from 3rd back to 5th, Pepe Oriola now 6th, Norbert Toth 7th, and Oriola pulling over, obviously the body damage. Genet up to 9th, Andrea Bellicchi 10th, and there is Pepe Oriola, has his race in China having lasted all of 1 lap, parked up at the exit to the pit lane. So Pepe Oriola's race is over. Another one of the Lukoil cars. This is Jordi Genet, brand ambassador for SEAT, having done so much development work on the Leon over the years, has sneaked past Franz Engstler. That's another place gained, up to 8th now. Car 24 is Kevin Gleeson, now embroiled in his own scrap. Let's take another look at the start. Let's get them off the grid and up to turn 1. And you can see there Oriola moving over. Now, where was this contact? The 2 other Lukoil red and white Seats, the Craft Bamboo cars, weaving their way through. Now let's take a look. Right in the middle of this scrap, Oriola goes round the outside of Grachev. He's alongside René Munich, and it's contact. No, that seemed clear. Now you see there is Oriola's damage, and you can see it clearly with the damaged bodywork, and in fact that's where it flicks off, and the damage too great, so he's pulled up. So we're down to 14 cars then. Pepe Oriola's race having lasted 1 lap, and so no repeat of the 2 podium positions he scored in Malaysia a fortnight ago. So coming up to the end of lap 2, Morbidelli still leads from René Munich. Stefano Comini now in 3rd place, our race winner from round 1 in Malaysia. Kevin Gleeson's now 4th, Mikhail Grachev 5th in the Audi. Norbert Toth, that says it all. That's Pepe Oriola making his sad way back to the Craft Bamboo Lukoil pit. Norbert Toth 6th, Jordi Genet 7th. You see Genet going through frame, Engstler there, Bellicchi, followed by Michel Nukia. And Nukia rounding off the top 10. Confirmation then of the positions as Grachev coming under pressure from Norbert Toth. And behind the top 10 I mentioned, Sergei Afanasiev 11th, Lorenzo Valia we saw getting all sorts of problems earlier. Then it's Zhang Tengyi, our Chinese driver, 13th, and Igor Shkuz bringing up the back of the field at 14th. The fastest lap, no surprise, our pole setter, Gianni Morbidelli on a 2:17. Bit of a battle going on between René Munich and Stefano Comini. Hopefully we can take a look at in a moment for 2nd place. Oh, it's actually Comini and Gleeson that are scrapping. Comini just holding off the American at the moment. Let's stay with this for a little while if we can. Gleeson, you might remember, was on pole for our first race in Malaysia, couldn't convert that pole position into a win. You'd have to say that Gianni Morbidelli looking a lot more confident, away into the distance, we can't even see, and there goes Munich. There is Comini, carrying the 30 kilos of ballast, remember. Kevin Gleeson right up behind him, moves out, and it's Comini moving to defend, but no, Gleeson's got past him, Gleeson passed. So Gleeson back up into 3rd place, so it is once again a Honda 1-2-3, now having to defend from, and he then runs slightly wide. This is what we were saying at the end of that that long back straight. So Gleeson unable to hold that 3rd position, outbraked himself I suspect. Comini back into 3rd and setting off in pursuit of the 2 Hondas ahead of him, but there is a long gap to the man in 2nd place, René Munich, and There goes Gianni Morbidelli, already with a sizable advantage over his teammate. There's Genet lunging up the inside. He gets past Norbert Toth, and so Genet takes 6th from 14th on the grid, remember. Genet didn't have the best of qualifying sessions, a slight excursion off track, unlike Geordie, who's done so much for touring car racing and a huge favourite with touring car fans. But Geordie Genet in the Lukoil Craft Bamboo car now up into 6th place, and the next man in his sights will be Mikhail Grachev in the silver Audi TT. So we've had 3 laps. Let's take a look at this again then. Gleeson just squeezing past Comini, excuse me. And yet outbreaks himself. Comini seizes his chance. Little tap. Comini just runs up the inside and retakes the place. Morbidelli, Munich, Stefano Comini, Kevin Gleeson, Mikhail Grachev. But Genet has his own problems with Norbert Toth breathing down his neck. Then it's Beliki. Then it's Franz Engstler. And then it's Michel Nukia with the orange door mirrors on the target competition, the blue and white Seat Leon. At the back of that group, Nukia in 10th place. Beliki, you might remember from a fortnight ago, just edged out of a podium position in race 2 when he ran just slightly wide, and the final corner of the final lap, just opening the door enough for Gianni Morbidelli to lunge up the inside. There was contact between the two. Race director Mark Dewey saying, no, racing accident. The door was open just that little bit too much. Morbidelli diving up the inside and snatching 3rd place back right at the last gasp. And so you have to say that Beliki will be more than pleased to get a good result here in China. Up the start-finish straight, then at the end of lap 4, Gianni Morbidelli still leads. From René Munich, Stefano Comini in 3rd place, Kevin Gleeson 4th, Mikhail Grachev 5th, Geordie Genet in 6th, with a very hungry Norbert Toth breathing down Geordie Genet's neck. And Andrea Beliki, we mentioned, in 8th place. So there is Comini. This is the battle for 3rd, which is going to continue. Geordie Genet, one eye in his mirrors and one eye ahead of him on the Audi TT of Mikhail Grachev. And remember, the Audi TTs are in effect Seat Leons. They are built at the Seat Sport factory in Barcelona, but they're underneath Seat Leon running gear with an Audi TT Cup shell. The car's running under a dispensation for the time being, so that the Engstler Sport team can compete in the championship with German cars, important for their sponsors Liquimoly. Now, is it my imagination, or is that gap slightly opening between Comini and Gleeson? Grachev now coming under pressure from Genet. In turn, Norbert Toth. The gap between Toth and Beliki, only 0.7 of a second also. There's the slight banking that leads on to that long back straight. And look again at that battle for 3rd place. Gleeson having yet another look. Comini moves across to block. Gleeson moves out of the slipstream, gets alongside him, but of course, Comini's on the racing line. Gleeson just tries to tuck past, but Comini judges his braking just about right. Gleeson has to stay in 4th place for now. Geordie Genet still threatening Mikhail Grachev, but the gap behind Genet to Norbert Toth having opened up ever so slightly. One of the Audis runs wide, well over the green carpet, and Grachev did well to hang on there, but that means he's right now in Geordie Genet's clutches. And behind Genet, Norbert Toth now coming under pressure from Andrea Beliki. Halfway through the race, 5 of 10 laps remaining. It's 10 laps or 25 minutes, remember this race. There's the battles for third and fourth between Stefano Comini and Kevin Gleeson. And behind Mikhail Grachev now just opening out slightly from Jordi Genet. Behind Genet, Toth fending off Beliki with Franz Enschler and Michel Nukia behind Beliki. But here's Beliki's teammate, Stefano Comini, our sole Swiss driver, holding off our sole American driver at the moment. Seat versus Honda. And you have to say, Kevin Gleeson's driven tremendously well for both rounds that we've had so far. The two events in Malaysia where Gleeson was on pole, and here in Shanghai, Gleeson having topped the timesheets in free practice. Remarkable consistency from the three Hondas all weekend. First, second and fifth in both free practice sessions, and first, second and third in qualifying. Bit of breathing space behind Gleeson, 1.8 seconds or whatever, but look at that. Grachev and Genet now 0.25 of a second apart. Genet weaving, no, Gleeson weaving, sorry. Gleeson alongside Comini once again. He gets past, but again Comini's on the inside line for the right-hander at turn 14. He goes through, then there's the slight kink at turn 15, then there's the drag down to the hairpin at turn 16, which gets us back onto the start-finish straight. Gleeson still not able to make it stick. Morbidelli then from Munich, from Comini, Gleeson. Grachev and Genet still scrapping. Beliki has got past Toth, so Beliki is now 7th, Norbert Toth dropped to 8th, and Gleeson is right alongside Stefano Comini. Comini hangs on and just holds him off. Brilliant scrap, I have to say. With Morbidelli and Munich heading off into the distance, this is the battle to focus on for third place. Kevin Gleeson determined not to deny Honda a 1-2-3. He's determined to get up there and finish in third place behind his two teammates. Comini, though, doing an admirable job of holding him back. He runs slightly wide. Gleeson goes through. Is that the commentator's curse or what? Comini just runs slightly wide on that right-hander, allowing Kevin Gleeson to go through into third place. But again, Comini comes back at him. Contact between the two. Comini goes up the inside, touches. Kevin Gleeson is just nudged out slightly, and they... Well, behind, contact again between Genet and Mikhail Grachev there. Grachev holding his ground, but Genet on the inside, and the contact again. The two lock up. And damage to Genet's car. The backing off, that contact caused some kind of damage, possibly steering. And the contact with Grachev's car. Genet now slowing. So Grachev now coming under pressure from Andrea Beliki. That's Jordi Genet now holding off Norbert Toth. And again, coming down towards us, it is Stefano Comini from Kevin Gleeson. Gleeson looks again around the outside, see if he can force Comini into making a mistake. He can't. Comini takes the right-hander. There's Grachev. Contact, possibly the lightest of touches between Norbert Toth and Jordi Genet's car, with Franz Enschler on the right side in the second of the Audi TTs. And it's one of the target cars that takes to the grass. That's Beliki behind Grachev's TT. And once again, third place changes hands. Kevin Gleeson now up the outside, but he runs wide. Tyres possibly having a say in proceedings. It's Comini back through into third place. Wow, let's see if we can make sense of that little lot. Gleeson ahead of Comini then. Comini dives up the inside. There's contact. Gleeson is forced to take to the carpet. And this is the incident between Genet and Mikhail Grachev. Grachev not giving way to Geordie. There's bumping and banging, there's locking up. And then there seemed to be a problem with Geordie's car, but it now appears to be running quite happily just behind Beliki. But it's Kamini and Gleeson still locked in battle. Grachev with Beliki. Engstler now ahead of Norbert Toth with Geordie Genet ahead of Franz Engstler. There's our top 8. Morbidelli from Munich, from Kamini, from Gleeson, from Grachev, Beliki. Gleeson having another look. Geordie Genet now 7th ahead of Franz Engstler in 8th. Beliki having a look up the inside of Mikhail Grachev. But no, not to be. Michel Nukia, you see there at the back of that chain, rounding off the top 10. Should mention Lorenzo Veglia 11th, Sergei Avanasiev 12th. Zhang Tengyi in the target competition wildcard entry in 13th. Igor Shkuz 14th and last at the moment, and the one retirement so far as Kevin Gleeson goes up the inside. Kamini comes back at him, weaving all over the place, but Gleeson looks to have made it stick. He makes Kamini go round the outside. Oh, and he runs wide. Side by side they go down towards turn 16, but Gleeson has the inside line. Gleeson half spinning during first practice yesterday and onto the green carpet there at turn 16, makes no mistake this time. Stays ahead of Stefano Kamini. Then it's Grachev battling now with Andrea Beliki, forcing him to the outside for the left-hander at turn 1. Behind that pair, Geordie Genet, Franz Engstler and Norbert Toth and Michel Nukia rounding off the top 10. But Engstler staying out. Beliki. That's Grachev we're looking at. Grachev holding off Beliki, but again, that's a battle worth watching. Gleeson looks to have the upper hand with 2 laps remaining. Morbidelli and Munich off into the distance. Kevin Gleeson 3rd for the West Coast Racing team in the Honda Civic. Then it's Stefano Kamini. Then you saw Mikhail Grachev. Then Beliki. Then Genet. Then Franz Engstler you're looking at now. Then there's Norbert Toth, and then behind him Michel Nukia in the other blue and white target competition Seat Leon. This race turning into an absolute cracker thanks to the battles between, mainly between Gleeson and Kamini. But also the cars behind. That battle between Grachev and Beliki, I suspect, will go down to the wire as well. Beliki having a little look. Not quite close enough to make it stick. And you have to say also, after the Seat Leon domination of Sepang a fortnight ago, it's refreshing, positive, whatever you'd like to say to describe it, to see the other brands to the fore, particularly the 2 Hondas you see there of Morbidelli and Munich. It's looking like an all-Honda top 3. The team will be absolutely delighted if Kevin Gleeson can finish in 3rd place. Kamini now backing off. It's Geordie Genet making a lunge up the inside. That's the battle between Genet and Engstler. Engstler coming back at Geordie Genet though. And our leaders are on their final lap. Morbidelli still ahead of René Munich. Kevin Gleeson in 3rd place you see there. Then it's Stefano Kamini. Then Mikhail Grachev. It's Geordie Genet battling now with Franz Engstler. Engstler determined to take that 7th place away from Geordie Genet. Nose to tail Franz Engstler and Geordie Genet going into turns 3 and 4, these 2 left-handers in this snail complex I was talking about earlier. But that's our leading duo. Gianni Morbidelli, René Munich. Kevin Gleeson opening up an advantage now from Stefano Kamini, but trying to go around the outside. Beliki and Grachev. Grachev holding off the Seat driver. So at the moment, only one Seat in the top 5. 3 Hondas, a Seat and an Audi. That's the way it looks. Beliki, Seat, Jordi Janay, Seat, Franz Engstler, Audi. That's the way it looks. We'll stay with this battle, I suspect, between Grachev and Beliki. Of course, being Italian, I'm being corrected. It's Beliki, as I've been trying to say all weekend. Andrea Beliki moving up on Mikhail Grachev, but unable to make the passing move that sticks. And that's the other scrap that we were focusing on. Jordi Janay and Franz Engstler for 7th place, going down the back straight for the final time. Engstler knows his chances are rapidly running out. Morbidelli, a few more corners, 3 more corners to go. He turns into turn 14, excuse me. René Munich behind, Kevin Gleeson. Then it's Stefano Comini, Mikhail Grachev and Andrea Beliki. Grachev holds on to 5th place, but the checkered flag awaits for an extremely popular victory, I suspect. Gianni Morbidelli lights to flag when all sorts of chaos going on behind with Grachev running wide. And so behind Kevin Gleeson, it's Stefano Comini who finished 4th, Andrea Beliki 5th. Grachev drops to 6th on that very last corner. Engstler 7th, Janay 8th, Norbert Toth 9th. First race in Shanghai, a 1-2-3 in qualifying, a 1-2-3 in the race. But Gianni Morbidelli takes his first victory of the 2015 TCR International Series. What a race! Absolutely. And there's Gleeson, who finished in 3rd place. Window down, getting some fresh air into the car, although temperatures nothing like as hot as they were in Malaysia. Let's confirm the results for you then from race 1 here in Shanghai. Gianni Morbidelli for the West Coast Racing Team, Honda Civic 1st. René Munich, Honda Civic 2nd. Kevin Gleeson, Honda Civic 3rd. Then it's a pair of Seats for Stefano Comini and Andrea Beliki from the Target Competition Team from Italy. Mikhail Grachev and Franz Engstler from the Engstler Motorsport Team 6th and 7th. Jordi Janay 8th. Norbert Toth 9th. Michel Nukia 10th. And then outside the points position, Sergei Avanasiev in the 3rd and final Bamboo Lukoil car in 11th, and Lorenzo Valia in the Seat Leon from the Engstler Motorsport Team 12th. Zhang Tengi in the wildcard Target Competition car 13th, Igor Shkuz 14th, and Pepe Oriola failing to finish. I wonder if René Munich must be thinking, hang on a second, I'm off to Rallycross after this, and I've just finished 2nd in a TCR race. I suspect there'll be an extremely happy Gianni Morbidelli at the end of this. The 3 West Coast Racing drivers posed for a picture after qualifying, and the 2 others tower over Gianni. Extremely likable Italian, who always takes time to explain exactly what's going on, extremely patient with everybody, and talked me around the track yesterday in terms of braking points, overtaking points, gear changes, where he thought traction would be an issue, and understeering and the like. And that'll be an extremely popular victory by both Morbidelli and Honda, and 3 the TCR International Series. Morbidelli then heads into the pit lane. You can hear the cheers from the team. The wave from Morbidelli acknowledges his team. There is René Munich, and there in the background being waved in is Kevin Gleeson. Excellent. Congratulations to Gianni Morbidelli. And congratulations to the West Coast team. James Nixon, you see there on the right, the team manager. René Munich, you see in the background, an embrace for the engineer. There is René Munich, a happy man, having raced an awful lot of different formulae, from rallycross to GT cars to touring cars. That was hard work, and it's great to see such a big smile on his face. And there is Kevin Gleeson, who drives extremely smoothly. If you look at the data from his car, he's, I suspect you could say, an amateur driver, because in between the races he's back to the US, back to Pennsylvania to work for the family software business. But isn't that great to see? Teammates embracing. Well done, says Rene. Well done, says James. Don't forget your winner's cap, and we need to be heading up, please, to the podium.